It was in 2005 and I was living in Missoula, Montana. I was 10 years old at the time and I was sharing a bed with my 7-year-old sister. My best friend also came over to spend the night that evening, and the three of us slept on my big bed by the window. If you looked out the window, your eyes would be level with the ground. Right in front of you was the backyard, and up to the left, you could see the deck leading up to the upstairs kitchen. It was a night in February or March. The weather was still cold, and with some snow on the ground. The three of us were laughing joyfully on the bed. I glanced out the window and saw a deer on the deck. I told my sister and my friend, but we didn't think much of it. About an hour later, we were getting ready to sleep. I looked outside again and saw the deer was still on the deck, but this time there was two green glowing points. I showed them only to my sister and friend, and they saw it too. Suddenly, it moved. It became clear that it wasn't a deer, but a person, but we could only see their outline. It looked like the person was facing our kitchen door and window. We kept staring at the figure. Suddenly, they started walking towards the deck upstairs, heading in our direction. They stopped at the bottom of the stairs, probably looking at us. They just stood there for a few seconds, only about a foot or so away from our window. At that point, we panicked and started screaming. They clearly heard us and then ran out the backyard. My dad went out with a gun and called the police, but they didn't find anything. I was still young at the time, and my parents didn't say much. But during that period, all the neighbors received notifications from the local police saying they had information that a wanted murderer might be nearby or operating in the area and to stay alert. Later, they released the name of the person, Joseph Duncan. This was definitely the talk of the town. However, my parents didn't explicitly tell us at the time. During that time, we weren't allowed to go out alone or go to the park on the street. About a month and a half later, in Coeur Aldini, Idaho, a little girl named Sasha and her brother, little Lon, was kidnapped. The entire family at home was killed by a man named Joseph with a hammer. The scariest part was that he had sneaked into their house in the middle of the night. Before this, he had literally scouted their house once or twice. He very likely could have done the same thing to my family that night or on another night. He did terrible and unspeakable things to the children, eventually killing the little boy. He tortured the poor little girl until they were found at a place called Denny's. My dad and I saw this news report while we were in a hotel room on vacation. My family was extremely concerned because we almost certain that the man had been at our house that night. There was another even creepier detail. He used night vision goggles to scout potential victims' houses. Those two green glowing points I saw on the road must have been the reflections from his night vision goggles. That's when I became even more certain it was him. If you want, I could also rewrite this story in a smooth, suspenseful storytelling style in England, so you can read it out loud and make it truly chilling, like a horror narrative without it sounding like a video script.